All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving into the second part of the 12-hour marathon. And just want to share the 3 commitments that we have for everyone in attendance today. Number 1, for you in the audience, you show up, you get value, you take steps in the right direction, you connect with amazing guests who help you become your greatest possible self. Number 2, each of the special guests who comes on, they make a meaningful difference in at least one person's life. Most likely, many, many more. And it all starts with one step at a time, one person, one life at a time. And number 3 is that I make a meaningful difference in at least one person's life throughout these 12 hours. I'm 100% sure I've already done that, so I'm giving myself a huge round of applause. Woohoo! Sure. That's right, baby. Let's go. Okay, so that is fun. Love sharing that. And we are here to help and empower you to become your greatest possible self. And one of the ways that we really measure that is through our iTunes reviews of the week. So this week's iTunes review of the week is by Kevin Burciaga. And Kevin says, best new podcast of 2018. And he said, this is the best new podcast I've found in 2018. There's so many great episodes. Quit filling your mind with polarized politics and bad news and start listening to Chris. Thanks so much, Kevin. And if you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes and search for us there. You can give us there, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on Facebook. And you can do it there as well. Thank you in advance for doing that and giving us your feedback for that. Next is going to be the introduction for this incredible human being. And I had the pleasure of connecting with this amazing, amazing guy a couple weeks ago. And he's just like off the charts, just a powerhouse and huge, huge just change maker, an influencer, an impactor in the health and wellness space. And so I'm super excited to have him on. Get really get your notes out, get your notepads out, because he has so much wisdom. He's written books, he's done all kinds of amazing things, and we'll be sharing about that. And just know that he drops the wisdom. He shares the gold, shares the wisdom with you. So get ready for it. And remember, your life can transform in an instant, so be ready for that one thing that can make everything else easy or unnecessary for you through this interview, because Ben's going to be bringing the heat, and so am I. I'm going to be pulling it out, I'm going to be drawing it out, educing. You know, educe comes from educo, means to draw out. Education, educo, educe. Anyways, Ben Azadi, FDN-P. is on a mission to help 1 billion people live a healthier lifestyle. Ben is the author of 3 best-selling books: The Perfect Health Booklet, Simple Steps Proven to Transform Your Health; The Intermittent Fasting Cheat Sheet, Discover How This Ancient Practice Can Transform Your Health; and The Power of Sleep, Effective Strategies to Switch Off Your Brain, Stop Hitting Snooze, Wake Up Energized, and Own the Day. As a formerly obese person, Ben is now the go-to source when it comes to holistic health, longevity, anti-aging, functional fitness, and fat loss. He is known as the health detective because he investigates dysfunction and educates, not medicates, to bring the body back to normal function. Ben is considered a ketogenic and intermittent fasting expert amongst his peers, and he is going to be bringing absolute heat today. Ben, are you ready to rock this, brother?
Oh, I'm so ready, dude. You got me pumped up, man. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Awesome, man. Awesome. We're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Ben, thanks so much for coming on today to share your wisdom with our audience so that we can grow and evolve and really achieve our greatest possible health. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, Chris, thank you. I wanna acknowledge you first and foremost, because your energy is contagious. I'm feeling more pumped up every word you speak. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And everything you do, it provides so much value, not just to the people you're interviewing, but everybody who's listening. And you are essentially time collapsing, right? You are getting all these experts, and you're getting their experience and their years of research and what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and you are time collapsing because they're sharing that, and then people are listening, and they don't have to make the same mistakes. So you are saving people so much time and so much effort, and you're just such a rock star, bro. So I want to acknowledge you and say thank you for everything that you do, man.
Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate you saying that, man, and I feel it. I feel your heart. I feel your love. I feel your presence in everything you do, and that's why I knew I was so grateful to have you on the show, because you're just this wealth of wisdom and knowledge, and I love having great, deep conversations that are powerful, that educate me and educate our audience. And I know that's exactly what we're going to do today while having a lot of fun. So, Ben, let's dive into the very first question, which is sink or swim, and how this concept, how this perspective plays a role in your life. So how has that made a difference for you, this concept of sink or swim? How has this philosophy made a difference in your life, Ben?
So sink or swim, huh?
Yep.
Could you clarify that for me? What
Sure,
do you
sure.
mean by that?
Sure. So sink or swim is a mindset where either you succeed or you fail, right? Like you either burn the boats and take the island, storm the island and succeed, or you sink, right? And these life-changing moments where it's either, hey, you show up, you perform, you get the success, or you try, you fail trying kind of thing. It's just like, that phrase, the mentality. How has that impacted you?
Yeah, I got it. I understand. Well, first of all, I don't believe in failure. I think failure is only created when you quit. I think if you never quit, I believe if you never quit, what we perceive as failure is simply feedback,
Yeah.
right? And I really believe that setbacks are given to ordinary people to make them extraordinary.
Mm.
And
Wow.
if you think there is a J.K. Rowling, who is the author of the Harry Potter series,
Mm-hmm.
he gave a commencement speech to the University of Harvard in 2008, and she was giving this privileged audience her speech, and she said, "You may never fail on the scale that I have failed," because she had a rough life, but you will fail in life unless, she said, unless you live life so small that you don't take any chances, which in itself you fail by default.
Yeah.
So to me, not taking chances is the only failure, because what we perceive, like I said, as failure is really feedback, and we look at it as an obstacle only at times when we take our eyes off of our goal. If we keep redirecting our eyes off of the end goal and what we want to accomplish, we're going to use that as an opportunity to get there. So I think you got to go for it. If you're not living life on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
That's right. That's right, man. I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I have these questions of the day, right? Like sink or swim. There's so much diversity, so many different perspectives that people could take on it. I love how you went like, I don't believe in failure. I believe it's just another step towards learning. It's another step towards success. It's just feedback, right? And I love how you can reframe that. And people who think it's, sink or swim, it's either do or die. It's like, well, maybe, and maybe it's another step towards our greatest possible self. So I really love that when we do these, there's the option of flexibility. You get to create whatever perspective you want around the concept. So you did perfect, man. Thank you for sharing your insight and your wisdom, your perspective, and how you see life. Because I think that's the most important thing. Is a lot of people just get into this habit of sharing facts and sharing, oh, here's what I'm an expert on, yada yada yada. It's like, cool. Well, how do you see life? How do you view this concept? How do you really show up? So that personality makes a difference. At least I know for me, when it comes to interviewing, when it comes to building a brand and a reputation and all that good stuff.
Totally, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome. So, Ben, for anyone who's just learning about you or they want to know more about you, why don't you share a little bit more about what you do? I shared about it in your intro, but just for people who want to know more and just from your own perspective, your own words, what is it that you do these days?
Yeah, well, these days I'm a best-selling author, like you mentioned, 3 books. I do health coaching, I do health lectures, and I'm on a mission to impact the lives of 1 billion people on planet Earth.
Wow.
And that's what I wake up and I strive for every single day. So I'm creating content. I'm trying to create this healthy balance of create versus consume, because I believe there's an unhealthy balance in this world where people are just consuming nonsense all day, every day, and they don't have that balance of creating. So what I do is I create. I'm a creator, just like I believe you're a creator too, Chris. And this is who I am now, right? But this is not who I was 10 plus years ago. Like you mentioned, I was obese, right? I was the fat kid growing up. And I don't know if you want me to get into that now.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Perfect. So yeah, I was that kid who was growing up who wore t-shirts inside of swimming pools. I had very low self-confidence, no girlfriends growing up, and I was bullied, I was picked on, and I was obese. I was actually obese for most of my life, eating a lot of fried food. I was addicted. I had this addiction to video games and to drugs and to surrounding myself with negative people. So I had all that energy in my addiction, but I was channeling it towards bad addiction, right? I don't think addiction is necessarily a bad thing if you could channel it towards something that's healthy for you.
There's healthy addictions. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't have healthy addictions. I had unhealthy addictions. And about 10 years ago, it was 2008, my ex-girlfriend broke up with me. We were together for about 4 years. I was obese at this point. I would weigh 250 pounds. I was working at a packing and shipping store as a manager here in South Florida. I had goals the size of a pregnant ant, very, very small. And I was depressed. My girlfriend broke up with me. And if my heart would have stopped beating, it would have been a mere formality. Because up until that point, I was just tiptoeing my way through life, hoping to make it safely to death.
Wow.
I never really created an original thought. I didn't have any goals, any aspirations. Like I spoke about earlier, J.K. Rowling said that's a failure in itself. That's what I was doing. I was living a life of failure, according to my definition. And I hit rock bottom, dude. I hit rock bottom. I was actually scared to be alone at that point because every time I found myself alone, I was thinking of ways to end my life. I was thinking of ways to just stop the suffering. I was crying every day, miserable, blaming everyone and everything, blaming my ex-girlfriend, blaming my enabling mom for enabling me to eat food and my metabolism and my genetics and everything, except for the only person I needed to blame, which was myself. And I didn't realize that until I started reading books. And you see some books around me. Books saved my life. They completely opened my world up to myself up to a new world. And I realized that, man, I am responsible for the results I've gotten in my life. And Wayne Dyer said it best. Wayne Dyer, the late and great Wayne Dyer, said, if other people are the reason for your problems, you're going to have to hire a psychiatrist and send that psychiatrist to the world in order for you to get better. And that's so true. It's so true. So I took full responsibility, dude. I am a true believer that you cannot take full responsibility and still be angry and still be resentful and still feel like you are just a victim. So I said, I am responsible for everything and anything that's in my life. Not the president, not my metabolism, not anything else but myself. So I took that responsibility on. And 9 months later, dude, I lost 80 pounds. I went from being physically obese, 34% body fat, to 6% body fat. So, dude, I finally got six-pack abs for the first time in my entire life. I always wanted it. I always dreamed of it. And with that being said, more importantly, I carved out a mental six-pack, brother. I used to be mentally obese, and I am a bona fide mental six-pack rock star ever since then, dude. And you can't see that, but I feel that. And that's when everything changed for me, dude. That was 10 years ago.
Dang. So it's like you started on the journey towards your greatest possible health 10 years ago when you hit that rock bottom and you started reading books. What was the journey like, man? How did you become so fascinated about health to the point where you're like, I want to teach people about this. I want to share about this information that I've learned.
Yeah, great question. So I lost the 80 pounds. It took me about 9 months.
Wow. And
I left my job and I started to become a personal trainer. I became a personal trainer. I started my first company, Shred Fat. And dude, so I was living out of my childhood home. My sister had a bedroom and she had moved out. So I had that space that I turned into like an in-home gym. It was just like a mid-sized bedroom, right? That I turned into an in-home gym. And I put an ad on Craigslist for South Florida's most affordable personal trainer. I was charging $25 for an hour session with me. And I would have all these strangers come to my house and I would train them. I was just getting my feet wet, doing whatever it took. And then I just kept going, dude. Persistence, right? Persistence. Then I raised my rates. And then I opened up my first gym, a CrossFit gym here in Miami. And that just snowballed. And ever since then, by the way, 10 years ago, I've been studying 3 hours on average every single day for the last 10 years.
Wow.
So I am a student, and I don't say that to impress anybody. I say to impress upon people that my confidence comes from my competence. I put a lot of work into learning, implementing, going to seminars, and what I teach is I curate the same way you present the information in bite-sized nuggets. This is how you said it. Right. I do that in the health space because there's so much noise. So I will curate it and then present to you in bite-sized nuggets from what I learned. So that's been my journey.
Why do you think that was so needed, the curating it and making it digestible and having your unique perspective on it and how you present it and how you effectively deliver it to people? What was missing what's the gap that was in the marketplace that you fill in that aspect?
Yeah, well, when it comes in terms of like the obesity crisis, I've been there and I've done it. I'm not just some fit guy who's always been fit. So it's very relatable in that sense. And then also there's so much confusion out there, and I've dealt with it myself with, oh, the vegan diet, oh, the keto diet, oh, the paleo diet, oh, fasting, oh, this, that. And I used to get just so confused because you could follow one expert and be like, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then you find another expert talking about the complete opposite, and you're just like, oh, now what?
Yeah.
So I've experimented, I've done blood work, I've been the guinea pig, my clients have been the guinea pig. Now I'm at a point in my life where I got, and I don't know everything, but I got a good idea of what it takes to achieve perfect health. And everybody's different, so I will investigate the dysfunction, like you said, to bring the body back to functioning the way it was designed to be.
That's powerful. How did you first discover that your focus is on the dysfunction, and that specific mentality, that specific area of like what's not functioning properly? How did you like pinpoint that's like the crux of your philosophy, is when there's dysfunction, when we investigate it, when we know the specific symptoms and the root causes and stuff, then we're able to give effective solutions.
Yes, I discovered that approach when my father got sick. My father had type 2 diabetes for most of my life. He struggled with it, and I didn't understand the disease back then. So I would take him to his doctor's appointment, and the doctors would prescribe him his medicine, and I would make sure he had his medicine filled up every single week, take him grocery shopping. And his health just deteriorated over the years, and he ended up getting a massive stroke 4 years ago, a little over, actually about 5 years ago now. Wow. And it paralyzed his body completely. His right side, he couldn't move. He lost the ability to speak, and he was put in a hospice to pretty much die. And I visited him on this hospital bed where I watched his health deteriorate every single week for 10 months. Every single week I would visit him, and he just got worse and worse, and his body just shrunk before my eyes. And it was the most difficult time of my life. And I visited him on an August night. It was actually August 12th, 4 years ago. And it was a Monday night, and he was in the worst shape that I had ever seen him in. He was throwing up on himself, and he looked just so helpless and hopeless. And this is my father, somebody that I love dearly, and I was so impacted by that because I just wanted his suffering to end. Right. And the nurses ended up cleaning him up that night, and he looked better. Before I left, I kissed him on his forehead. I told him that I am your son, you are my father, and I love you. And I said the words "Hasta la vista, baby," because he used to always say this to me growing up from the movie The Terminator.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got home that night, Chris, and I was in my shower and I was praying. And there was something different about this prayer because, first of all, I kept saying, please end my father's suffering. He has suffered enough. Just kept repeating that over and over. But there was something that I felt during that it felt like someone or something was listening to me. And I was just saying that over and over. I don't know, maybe for 3 minutes. And I went to sleep that night. The next day, around 12:30 p.m., which is less than 24 hours from what happened, I got a phone call from the hospital, from my father's nurse, and I picked the phone, and they said, Mr. Azadi, I am sorry to inform you, your father stopped breathing this morning, and he passed on. We couldn't resuscitate him. So I got that phone call, and I sat down, and I remember it like it was just like yesterday. I sat down on my couch. My dog stared at me like he knew something was wrong. And it was just a rush of emotions because I was really happy that my father was no longer suffering. He finally, thank God, he is no longer in pain. He is in peace. And then there was this sadness because my one and only father is no longer with me. And ever since then, my life just changed, man. I live life in the perspective of death. Little things do not upset me anymore. I value my relationships so much more, my mother with my girlfriend. And then I became kind of obsessed with figuring out what happened to my father. Why did this happen? Why did this lifestyle disease create his demise too soon? And over the years, I realized that the information that I have now that I share with everybody is the same exact information that would have saved his life. And I also realized that the reason I was given that mountain of going through all that with my father, I was given that mountain so I could show others that this mountain can be moved. And that, to answer you, is the reason why, because my father's doctors were treating his symptom. They were treating something that was far removed from the root cause, which was high blood sugar, insulin resistance, which is the cause of type 2 diabetes. They were never trying to get to the root cause. They were never trying to reduce a lifestyle disease that can be reduced with lifestyle. And that's when I realized, oh, we need to figure out what is creating this dysfunction, and we need to bring the body back to functioning the way it was designed to function. And that is the reason why I focus on that, dude, because most doctors, not all, will look at something that is a symptom and put a Band-Aid on it, which will help you temporarily, but it will never cure you. It will never heal you completely. And that's just the state of our medical system. You know, it's sick care, and there's a lot of money in people not dying. There's a lot of money in people being very sick for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate about that, and everything. All the actions I take are to honor my father. I dedicated my book to him and my mother. So yeah, that's why I investigate dysfunction.
It's powerful. Very, very powerful, man. Thank you for sharing that journey that you went through. And I know I can relate personally with my family and always wanting them to be in the best health, and just recognizing that there's things that we just didn't know or didn't practice growing up, or that they weren't taught, that they weren't educated on, blood tests and, functional nutrition and all this stuff. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing to spread that into the world, because it's so needed, and it's so important for people to recognize that they actually have control to be able to change their lifestyle, to be able to change the effects that their health has had on them because of a lack of lifestyle awareness, because of a lack of lifestyle control and responsibility. So I really, really love what you're doing, man. Super powerful. So I want to dive into like the how do we actually dial in our health and our wellness? Where do we start with that? Where do we start getting educated, or how do we start with that specific process of having empowered health?
Yes, thank you for the acknowledgement. You said something really impactful there. You said that we have control. Yeah. That's something a lot of people don't understand, that they think they're doomed by their genetics. They really believe that. They've been taught that your destiny is determined by your genes. Now, here is the fact. We are born and we are dealt a set of genes, which we cannot change. This is true. We are set with our genes. We cannot change it. However, we can control the expression of those genes. So let's say we have a gun. This gun is loaded with bullets. That is our genetics that we've been dealt with. Our lifestyle, which is our diet, our stress levels, people we surround ourselves with, everything that we do on a daily basis, our environment, determine whether or not we pull the trigger on those genes.
Wow.
So we are so much more in control. I truly believe that less than 2% of all disease is strictly genetics, based off of the genes that we were dealt. 98% is based off of what we have done in our life to express those genes. And so I just wanted to emphasize that point. Now, how do we, where do we start? Was that the question? Like, where do we start?
Yeah, what's the foundation? Yeah.
What's the foundation? Sleep. Sleep is the foundation that perfect health is built on, dude. Without sleep, the house of perfect health will fall apart wall by wall. I truly believe that sleep is more important than diet and exercise combined. Wow. The reason is because we could be doing everything right. We could be eating the perfect diet. We could be working out every single day. We could be crushing it with our relationships, having good relationships. And if we're sleep deprived, everything else is going to suffer. So sleep is number one. At least 7 hours of quality sleep every night will do the trick. That's the bare minimum. And then from there, we go into hidden stressors. I don't know if you want me to pause there or continue.
Yeah, so let's recap that. So sleep is so essential. I want to get into the stressors in a bit. And as far as sleep, what are some things that people might not know about how to get the best quality of sleep, how to really own their sleep, how to define their sleep regimen so that it gets them the most rejuvenation and regeneration possible in the shortest amount of time?
Yes. So we have, in this day and age, it's such a beautiful world that we live in because we have so much technology, right? We're able to communicate. You're in California, right?
Yep.
you're in California, I'm in Miami. We have people probably watching and listening from all across the world because of technology. We are blessed.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword because we have also manufactured an entirely new daytime, because before the sun went down, we went to sleep. Now we have all this light exposure, and our hormones and our circadian rhythm, they're confused. So I would say the closer we could follow our ancestral roots when it comes to sleep, the better we're going to feel. That means when the sun goes down, getting to bed 2 to 3 hours after that, right? Prioritizing sleep, getting to bed early, and then when the sun comes up, waking up with the sun. Yeah. So simulating our ancestors. So if you do that, that's a game changer right there. Staying away from light exposure as much as possible at nighttime to help your body produce more of that sleep hormone melatonin and less of the cortisol. That'll be great. I wear something called blue light blocking glasses that I wear at nighttime. So the sun goes down, I put on these glasses, and it helps filter out the blue light so that I get to produce more melatonin. So those are a couple tips right there.
That's awesome. Super powerful, man. And I love how we just being aware that light stimulates us and causes us to not produce certain chemicals. It's almost like when we're talking about the genetics, what gets expressed. It's like if you want the expression of a healthy functioning system and the right hormones coming at the right time, then it's important to have an environment that doesn't stimulate the wrong signals. So if you want to have the wrong chemical expression or wrong genetic expression, then watch movies at night, put LEDs and stuff like that in your environment at night so that the wrong genes are expressed or the right processes are bypassed or not activated, because our body's like, hey, well, it's light out, so obviously you don't need any of this melatonin or whatever it might be. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, right on, dude. Exactly. You nailed it, because there's a study that showed they put these participants in a completely pitch black room, right? So when you're in a pitch black room, your body thinks it's nighttime. It starts to produce more melatonin and less cortisol. So they have an inverse relationship. Cortisol gives you energy. It helps. It's that fight or flight hormone. You want it in the morning, and you want melatonin low in the morning. And then at nighttime, you want that flipped, right? So they put these participants in this room. They're producing melatonin. They placed a red laser light behind their knee, and they had all these machines attached to them. It was still dark, but they placed this little light behind their knee, and their body produced cortisol and reduced melatonin just from doing that. So it just goes to show you that this light is, if we're not diligent with it, it's going to cause harm, and it's not going to let you get good sleep. And if fat loss is one of your goals, I got news for you, because we burn 98% of fat burning takes place during sleep. So if you're not getting stage 4 delta sleep, you're not activating these top 6 fat burning hormones, you're not going to lose weight. So I got to tell you, keep your room dark, keep your room cold. 62 to 67 degrees is where the studies show the sweet spot is, and try to limit nighttime exposure.
Wow, that's freaking awesome, man. I didn't know that 98% of fat gets burned while we're sleeping, or at least the process of that burning gets activated while we're sleeping, because it might not necessarily be while we're sleeping. It's just that those chemicals and hormones will be released to our body throughout a 24-hour period span to be able to maximize our fat burning.
That's right, brother. Yeah, you nailed it.
That's awesome. Super cool, dude. So as far as the stressors, let's talk about those. Like, what do we need to know about the different stressors that are activating or deactivating the important functionality of our body?
Yes. So I just did a video on this earlier today, and I did a coaching call with my Shred Fat Mastermind group about stressors, because they're everywhere. And stressors come in all different shapes and forms. It could be getting into an argument with your significant other every single day. Maybe you have a relationship that's not authentic. Maybe you guys are fighting over finances, which is one of the most common things to fight over. Yeah. So it's not a healthy relationship. That's a stressor. Eating food that's not organic, that's been sprayed with pesticides, that's a stressor. Taking a shower without a shower filter, that's a stressor. Drinking tap water, that's a stressor. Having somebody cutting you off in traffic and you're not self-aware of the way you react, and you just get stressed out and you're cursing that person out, that's a stressor. Having a lack of purpose, being depressed, that's a stressor. So I could go on and on and on. These are all hidden stressors that what happens in the human body is we are well equipped to deal with the stressor. right? Back in the day, we encountered a tiger or a lion, and our body has a decision to make. Oh my God, we need to either fight this beast or run away from this beast. So your body sends a signal, the hypothalamus, which is in your brain, sends a signal to your pituitary, which then sends a signal to your adrenal glands, which produces cortisol. That gives you energy to do what you need to do to survive, which is a great acute response. That's totally fine. The problem is when we have this chronic low dose stress every single day, and it could even come from light exposure. If you're sitting in a cubicle, if you have a corporate job and you're sitting in a cubicle, which I call a jail cell or a cubicle dungeon, you are in this toxic environment. We're not designed to be in this environment. So we have all these stressors, and then what happens is that have you heard of adrenal fatigue before?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's no longer really called that. That's just like a piece of the puzzle, but it's part of it. So your HPA axis gets it starts to dysfunction, and then your genes determine how long it will take before you present symptoms. So then you go to your doctor, and they're going to look at the symptoms when it's far removed. I look at the hidden stressors. What was the start of all of this? Was it your diet? Was it the fact that you're getting chronic lack of sleep? So those are, in a nutshell, what hidden stressors are, Chris.
Wow, that's powerful, man. And I think it's important to know like what those underlying factors are. Going back to the very beginning of this, we talked about like today's modern medicine is just putting a Band-Aid on top of things rather than getting to the root cause and the root, core challenge. So I'm curious, what could we do to invite our audience and someone who's listening right now to be more focused on the root cause, to be more, I guess, what's the mindset shift around that so that they can start taking ownership around that, so that they can be responsible for really getting to the core, deepest level rather than just putting on surface level and Band-Aid kind of solutions and fixes?
Yes. I would say to anybody listening or watching that if you are unhealthy right now, you are selfish. You are selfish because you cannot be your greatest self when you're unhealthy. You cannot have your true personality shine through if you're unhealthy. Your family suffers because they don't have the true energetic self that you can be. Your kids suffer. You go on a vacation for 2 weeks and you're moping around because you're unhealthy. You don't have the energy. Everybody's suffering. And then what happens when you get sick? Your family needs to take care of you, and it's the most selfish thing you can do is to not take care of your health. I know that there's a lot of confusion out there. I know that it's hard to find out what exactly it is that's going to work for you. I'm here to tell you that there's not one diet that's going to work for you. There's no such thing as that. I would never tell you that. You are a biochemical individual. I would say to find somebody who is crushing it and helping other people crush it with their health and learn from them. Do your research. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is not what people are saying about you, but the results you're getting. Yeah. And who cares? People tell me all the time, because I have people doing intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting. And to some people, their family members think that it's crazy. And they're like, oh, what will the neighbors think is like the common phrase. I got news for you. The neighbors don't think. Nobody thinks. Only 2% of the world think. 3% of the population think they think. And 95% of the world would rather die than think. So I would say whatever you're doing, as long as you're getting results, boom, you found what you need to do, and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise.
Damn, so powerful. You dipped into intermittent fasting. I want to go into that too because you've written multiple different books on multiple different like philosophies and areas of health and nutrition and stuff like that. So how did you discover the intermittent fasting as an important part of your regimen and your philosophies and tool belt, so to speak, that you use?
Yeah, I discovered it probably about 5.5 years ago from Dr. Mercola. He was talking about it on his website, and I started getting into it, and I started reading about it. At first, I thought it was the dumbest thing. I was like, what? I'm going to go into starvation mode? How could I skip breakfast? I was conditioned that way, right? But I was open to it. I was open to doing the research and then experimenting. And oh my God, I started doing it, and I started just reaping all the benefits. I started to have more energy. I started to have more clarity. And as an entrepreneur, like these are key traits that you want to take advantage of.
Yes.
And then I just started doing it for 5.5 years ago. And then I started really studying it over the years and then implementing different variations of it. and reading the new science of it and then having clients do it. And it's a game changer. You said that it's a tool. It is a tool. It's popular, which is surprising to me. I didn't think it would get this popular. But it's not a fad. It's not a health fad. It's a health fact. Fasting has been around since the dawn of humankind. In fact, 3 of the biggest influencers in the history of this world, you have Jesus Christ, the Prophet Muhammad, and Buddha. They didn't agree on a lot of things, right? But they did agree on one thing, and that was the power of fasting. They told all of their followers to fast. So it's part of every religion in the world. It's actually the most mentioned word in the Bible, fasting is.
What?
And it's been around for thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. So it's not new. And when you understand this, you think, oh, wow, that makes sense. And amazing things start to happen when you fast, which I'll get into. But I just want to make it clear that it's not a fad, it's a fact.
Wow, that's powerful, man. I love that framing so that we can understand, one, it's been going on for so long, so it's like time tested, it's been proven, and it's re-emerging as a lifestyle component, as a component to people's lifestyle, to being their greatest possible health. So let's start diving into, what happens when we're fasting, and then we can get into more of like the how to fast and the specific different like ways that we can integrate it into our life. But first, what's really happening when we're fasting?
Yeah, so what happens is the body starts to perceive you as being in a famished state. Okay. And we're hardwired this way. So if you've gone 12, 16 hours, maybe 24 hours, and you haven't eaten anything, the body starts to think, oh crap, that we are in a famished state. We're in a drought, essentially. Right. So we need to keep this body alert and firing on all cylinders so we could go out there in the wild and hunt and kill our next meal. Wow. So what happens is it creates our counter-regulatory hormones all increase. So these are hormones called glucagon, norepinephrine, cortisol, sympathetic nervous system, and human growth hormone. These all increase when you're fasting, and it's your body's way of actually pumping you full of energy. And then your body creates more BDNF in the brain, which helps you focus and be more creative. So here's the cool thing, especially for entrepreneurs like you and I and anybody else listening. Instead of using all those amazing things that happen, instead of using that to go out there and hunt and kill your next meal, what if you use that to crush your day, to become your greatest self with a podcast interview, with a lecture, with a project, with a big meeting, with a sales call? That's the power of fasting when it comes to being an entrepreneur or even anybody who wants to crush their day. You're using that energy for the task at hand, not for food, which, by the way, takes massive amounts of energy and resources to digest. And I could go on a rant on that, but I'll stop there.
I love it. So as far as like the how do we know what types of activities are appropriate to do fasted? Is it good to do fasted working out? Is it good to do fasted like 12-hour marathon? Like, how do we know what is and isn't a good idea to do it in? And then we can dive into more the how-to of like what does a day of fasting look like, and how do we prepare ourselves for that? How do we set ourselves up to optimally take advantage of that?
Yeah, first of all, 12-hour marathon, dude. You got some stamina, bro. I love that you do that. Nobody else is doing that, man. You're a freaking stud. Seriously, I love it.
Thank you, man.
So before you begin a fasting protocol, I wouldn't have anybody started right away. First, I would assess them. And I relate fasting as a tool the same way a chainsaw is a tool, right? A chainsaw is a very powerful tool that could help get the job done. It's also a very powerful tool that could hurt you. Yeah. So you wouldn't just grab a chainsaw with no experience and then just start using it all over the place. You would hurt yourself. You'd probably kill yourself. Nobody will do that unless you're like a serial killer. You would learn the ropes and how to use this chainsaw, how to pull it so it turns on, how to hold it, everything you need to learn. So fasting is very similar. It's a very powerful tool, but you wouldn't just hop out of your couch and run a marathon. You wouldn't just start fasting when you've been a sugar burner. So I would first say this. If you are a sugar burner, how do you know if you're a sugar burner? You would skip a meal and see how you feel. If you skip a meal and you're hangry, you can't focus, you're going to punch somebody in the face, you're like most people and you're relying on glucose to fuel you and you're a sugar burner. So if you fall into this category, don't fast yet. Do for the first 14 to 21 days, for the next 14 to 21 days, I want you to swap out a lot of the carbohydrates and sugar in your diet right now for healthy fats. So that's going to be things like avocados, eggs, nuts and seeds, grass-fed beef, fish, olive oil, avocado oil. Make that switch, and then also stop snacking. For the love of the universe, stop snacking. You are aging. If you want to age faster than anyone in your neighborhood, eat every 3 hours, because that's going to do it.
Wow.
So breakfast, lunch, dinner, nothing in between, eating more fats, eating less carbs. Do that for 14 to 21 days, and then you retest by skipping a meal. See how you feel. Maybe you do it this time and you actually feel like I was talking about. You have more energy, you have more mental clarity. Hunger comes and goes, so don't use that as a marker. Use how you feel with your energy and your focus as a marker. And if you feel great, congratulations, you're fat adapted, then you would practice fasting. And how you would practice it is simply doing a 12-hour fast. So you would have your last meal, let's say at 8 p.m., and then you wouldn't eat anything until the next day in the morning, 8 a.m. Okay. That's very doable. And then you want to kind of get it towards a 16-hour fast consistently. 12 hours fasting every day should be the minimum. Everybody, I recommend, should be fasting 12 hours every single day. If you're doing these intermittent short fasts, you could do exercises. You could do your marathon. You could do a CrossFit workout. I used to own a CrossFit gym. I used to do CrossFit. If you're doing more like 20 hours plus, then you want to be more conservative with your activity. You can still do your marathon, but I wouldn't do a strenuous exercise.
Right. Wow. So you said that every day you recommend fasting every day for 12 hours. What's the science behind that, or the why behind that? Because I know, for me, I'm like, okay, 24 hours once a week, that sounds like a good time to like reset my body and reset my systems and, create the HGH and all the kinds of good hormones that we want to be resetting and introducing into my body. So tell me more about the 12 hours and what that does versus like a full day fast kind of thing.
Yeah, I love the full day fast once a week or twice a week. I'm actually going on, what time is it? It's like 5 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going on 24 hours, about 23 hours right now.
Wow.
I feel great. I'm going to hold out till dinner with my girlfriend tonight. Wow. The reason I say at least 12 hours is because of research by Dr. Sachin Panda. He has a really long name, but Sachin Panda is his name. He has a book called The Circadian Code. And he's proven that every organ, every cell in our body has this circadian rhythm. And if we are constantly in this fed state, it throws off our cells. It throws it off and it creates sickness and disease. So he says we need at least 12 hours of this reset. Not only that, also for our digestive system. If you were to eat a standard American diet, which is SAD, stands for SAD, a standard American diet, 800 calories of that takes about 12 hours to process from your small intestine to your colon, dude. So if you're not fasting for 12 hours, you're going to be in this constant fed state. And here's what it does to your digestive system. We have so many people, Chris, popping Tums, taking things for their heartburn, burping, gas, all this stuff. Why? Why is this such an epidemic? Because we are overworking our digestive system. I want to compare this to somebody who's working a 9-to-5 job. They go into their office. They work 8 hours all day long. They crush it. They're walking out to their car, and they're like, yeah, I got the job done. I'm going to go home and relax. They get a phone call from their boss. Hey, we need you to come back inside and work another 6 hours to complete this project. So they go back into the office. They work another 6 hours. Now it's 11 p.m. They're leaving the office, finally done. They get another phone call from their boss. We need you to come back in, work another 6 hours. Imagine this happening for years, dude. That's what's happening with the digestive system.
Wow.
So when you fast, you give your digestive system a complete break for the first time in your life, and it starts to repair itself. So that's why I say that.
Damn, that's powerful. So every day, 12 hours could be from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., which is pretty doable. I think that's totally doable. If like a lot of people snack at night after they've eaten dinner, like that's totally, don't do that. Give your body that chance to recover and stuff. And I think it's like on the way to work, or you prepare the food and right before you're heading into work, juice up, eat, whatever it might be. That's totally doable. So I love that. So as far as the difference between the 12 hours and the 24, what would you say is the big difference in terms of that kind of more longer term fasting? What does that do for us, and what difference will it have on our impact on our body?
Great question. Three things happen there. There's a big difference in three areas. Number one is you burn more fat because when you're fasting another 12 hours, 24 hours instead of 12, you're burning your body fat for fuel. So you get to burn more body fat. That's one of your goals. Second thing is you get more of that human growth hormone. Studies show this, I think it was the University of New Orleans showed that a 24-hour fast produced 2,000% increase in human growth hormone in men and a 1,300% increase in women. Now, human growth hormone is muscle preserving, anti-aging, fat burning. We have celebrities and musicians who pay their doctors before. So autophagy, oh dude, I can't wait to share this with you. Yeah. Autophagy, let me give you an example. Okay, so I want you to consider or picture a refrigerator. A refrigerator has groceries in it, right? These groceries have an expiration date. Right. Best used by a specific date. Now, what will happen if we let all the groceries in your refrigerator expire, and instead of taking it out of the refrigerator and throwing it into the garbage, we instead kind of push it towards the back of the fridge, and then we go to the supermarket, we buy new groceries, put them in front of the old ones, and let it sit there for months. What's going to happen, dude?
All bad.
It's going to be a toxic environment. There's going to be disease. There's going to be mold, bacteria. Now, the human body has proteins and cells that have an expiration date on them. So if we're not taking a period of time where we're fasting, we're not going to be able to clean out the house. So there's a process that happens around the 14, 16-hour mark of fasting that's called autophagy. And it's pretty much your body's seeking out these damaged cells, these groceries that have expired, and it's using them as energy. It's tearing them down. And then when you break the fast and rebuild and refeed, it's going to rebuild new proteins, new cells. So this is your way of taking out the garbage from the fridge, putting in new groceries. Get this, dude. I'm going to blow your mind with this. There's a world-renowned oncologist, this cancer doctor from Boston College or Boston University. And his name is Dr. Thomas Seyfried, and he has a book called Cancer as a Metabolic Disease. And he says in his book and in his lectures that if you were to complete a 7-day water-only fast once per year, you would reduce your chances of getting any cancer by 95%.
Damn. Damn.
Because of this autophagy. Your body's seeking out precancerous cells and getting rid of them. And the Nobel Prize winner from 2016 won the Nobel Prize in his breakthrough research in autophagy. So that you get more of the autophagy the longer you fast.
Wow. That's so powerful. So I'm curious, how does, for me, because I want to build muscle, right? Like, and I think there's people out there who want to work out and build muscle. How does fasting play into like building muscle, and how does the 1 week water fast, like overall, I think some people might say, well, that's going to reverse me on my goals of my gains or building muscle or whatever it might be. Like what should we know about that process?
Yeah, if you're doing a longer fast like that, which is like called a block fast, you would not strength train. You would be very, pretty much inactive. You would just be relaxing and just working from home.
Right.
That's just a way for you to prevent disease. You do that once a year. Don't worry about the strength training that week or so. It will take a hit, but what is it important to you to prevent disease? Yeah, it is important, I think.
Yes.
I imagine, right? Yeah. So I would say you could have it all. When you fast intermittently, 16 hours, 24 hours, and you work out in a fasted state, right? You train and you're fasted and you train, and then you continue fast. Here's a cool little hack. If you continue fasting 2 to 5 hours post-workout, your body's going to continue to produce more HGH, human growth hormone. Then when you break the fast, you rebuild and produce new protein. So the body's not going to tap into muscle, which is if you are fat adapted, if you do the steps that I said, the 14 to 21 days, and you start fasting, your body will not tap into your muscle. It will not until you reach a freakishly low body fat of 5% or less. So I would say you have nothing to worry about, and you can harness the power of human growth hormone. And then when you do break the fast, you would have a protein-rich meal, and you would strength train heavy, and then get good sleep, and boom, you can have it all. That's a trifecta right there.
So you said, is the ordering, I just want to get the ordering correct, is it 24 hours of fast. You can drink water during that period, right? You can water fast for 24 hours, or would you recommend? Yeah, continue drinking water during that time period. And then after that, you get to go work out, or would you eat first and then go work out?
I would say if you're doing a 24-hour fast, maybe you work out at around the 16-hour mark.
Okay.
Right? And then you would, but it's really dependent on your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something else in regards to the working out. Okay, I was going to say this. The human body is very sophisticated. We have this innate intelligence within us. Yeah. So if your concern is that you're going to lose a lot of your hard-earned muscle, I want to put this to rest for you. I want to put you at ease. Mm-hmm. We store body fat, so when we're not eating, we have energy to pull out and use. It's a survival mechanism. Insulin goes up, it puts it into our fat cells and our muscle cells. It's a wonderful thing. It's the reason we exist today. So if somebody says, oh, I'm going to lose muscle when I'm not eating, that's like saying that I'm going to store firewood all summer long to get ready for the winter months, right? And then winter comes along and you have all this firewood that you stored up, and then you go to your couch, you chop up your couch and you use that for fuel. It doesn't make any sense. You're not going to store body fat to burn muscle when the chips are down. You're going to burn the body fat. You are going to also you are going to burn some protein, but the protein you are burning, it's junky protein. It's stuff you don't want in your system. So when you refeed, that's where the magic happens.
Wow. Super powerful, man. I love this. Great conversation, Ben. Full of wisdom, especially about the fasting, because I believe that's so important for everyone to start integrating that. And it's like you said, from every culture, it seems like has had these for thousands or even tens of thousands of years, like to be able to use these practices to purify our body of the toxins, of the stuff that we don't need, of the stress of whatever it might be. And in our chronically stressed society, like it's important that we take these time periods, whatever it might be, whether it's 12 hours or 24 or, a week, whatever it is, to detoxify our body so that we can show up as, the focused, as the empowered, as the smart, brilliant, genius, creative people that we're capable of being as our greatest possible self. So I really love that you've invested so much time and energy into this specific area, because it's super powerful and unique. So thank you for sharing all this wisdom with us, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Are we all wrapped up here, brother?
We're getting there. I wanted to ask one more question in terms of like where you see yourself evolving in the coming months and years. Like, what do you see yourself evolving into and really mastering study-wise?
Study-wise, okay, good question. Definitely more of the hidden stressors. I want to understand the impact of that, and then also the obesity. I'm focusing a lot on the obesity crisis, because 50% of Americans are either they're overweight or obese. Actually, 3/4 of Americans are overweight or obese, and that's contributing to diabetes, which is what my father had. So that's my area of focus, is figuring out why there is such a need, first of all, for the truth, for people to understand the truth. So my area of focus is to understand the human body more, to understand myself more, to be more self-aware, to grow and share everything that I'm learning, because when I teach it, I absorb it more. I'm sure you could relate to that. Yeah. So my areas are going to be health in general, specifically obesity and insulin resistance, and then also self-development. And the two guys that I study like a scientist are Grant Cardone and Bob Proctor.
Powerful people. So Ben, we're loving this. I know there's people who are listening or watching right now, and they want to know how can they stay connected, how can they continue the journey with you. And before that, if there's anything you just really want to drive home about what we covered in this interview, final takeaways kind of thing, we can do that, or you can just jump into the call to action. Either way is perfect.
Yeah, the last thing I want to leave you with is that understand that you are selfish if you're unhealthy. All right. You can either be the victim of your circumstances, or you can be the victor of your future. There's no circumstance on the outside of us that will ever hurt us or help us. It's what's on the inside that counts. Your results in your life are a result of the thoughts that you think. You get what you think. So start thinking powerful thoughts. Start surrounding yourself with people like Chris, people who are going places. And when you're reaching out for new connections, always reach up. Don't worry about what other people think. They're not thinking. You're the only living your life. And we have your back. You know, you matter. Every single person matters. You are important. You are a miracle. I mean, the fact that you are breathing and listening to this right now, 150,000 people die every day. And if you're listening to this or watching this, you're not one of them. So be grateful. Send yourself love. Send people in your life that are bothering you love. I believe love and gratitude are the biggest healers. And yeah, that's what I wanted to leave you with.
Amazing. I'm fired up, Ben. How can people stay connected with you? What do we want them to do next, brother?
Yeah, well, I'm very active on Instagram. So if you're on there, you can find me. My handle is @TheBenAzadi. And then I have my health coaching program, which is also like a life coaching, health coaching, and book club. And you'll learn everything I know. I'll give you everything I know. So if you want to learn more about that, you go to shredfatmastermind.com and learn more about it. We can see if it's a good fit. And I would be honored and grateful to help you on this journey of health.
Man, Ben, you're crushing it, man, and I really feel so closely about what you shared about your dad. I feel like I'm kind of in a similar place with my dad and wanting him to have his best health, and thankfully he's still alive, so I still have that opportunity to make the difference, and it's all about standing up for what I believe in, what I see as a possibility, and sharing the education, doing as much as I can with what I've got, you know, and I think that's something that you really inspired me to do, so thank you so much for that, and I'm definitely going to be talking to my dad more and seeing how I can share and empower him, sending him this interview and other health interviews that I've done in the past just to keep helping him take steps forward, and my whole family and everyone around me. So, dude, Ben, you're a freaking powerhouse, and everyone who's listening or watching right now, definitely stay connected with this guy. Ben Azadi is big news. Stay connected, and Ben, thanks for your big heart, man. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and whatever I can do to support you and your father and your family, anything I can do, I'm here for you, brother. I want to also say thank you for your time and your energy. You are a rock star. I admire you, and I'm just like, I get excited just thinking about where you're going to be in a year or 2 or 3 from now. You're just like going to explode, brother. So thank you, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon, okay?
See you soon, brother. Bye.